I've been reviewing jump starters for about 5 years, and every year they keep getting better. So the question is that $50 jump starter just as good as the Milwaukee, which costs $300? Well, let's find out. In the first test, we'll compare the performance of the jump starters on a V6 engine. We'll see which tire inflator inflates the tire the fastest. Then we'll see if any of the jump starters can jump start a truck with a diesel engine. We'll see which of the jump starters actually produces 10,000 watts. So why buy an expensive jump starter when you can just buy a set of cables that works with a DeWalt battery for only $18? This setup includes a 2-foot 8-gauge wire. It includes just the jump starter and not the battery. This setup does not include any sort of safety feature, so if you reverse the poles, bad things are going to happen. Made in China. In the first test, let's see if the jump starters can start an old Ford Ranger with a V6 engine. This is a tough test since the battery is completely dead. Unfortunately, the jumper cables powered by the DeWalt battery do not produce enough current to spin over the engine. At a price of $50, the least expensive jump starter we'll be testing is made by Sharmeal. They claim it delivers a very impressive 4,000 cranking amps. We're going to test that. They also claim 400 lumens of lighting. It's supposed to start up to a 10-liter gas engine and an 8-liter diesel. We're going to test that too. It has dual USB outputs, so you can use this as a battery bank. And the Sharmeal is made in China. Weight is a pretty good indicator of quality, and the Sharmeal weighs just about a pound. The Sharmeal won't work with a completely dead battery, and I'll have to use another jump starter to excite the Sharmeal. Unfortunately, the Sharmeal didn't get excited enough and only lasted about a second. Also at a price of $50 is this WNDFLV brand. The Sharmeal claimed 4,000 cranking amps, the WNDFLV claims 5,000. The WNDFLV claims to have twice as much milliamp hours at 20,000. Not only do you get a jump starter, you also get a tire inflator. And the WNDFLV is made in China. The WNDFLV weighs close to 1.2 pounds. The dead battery in the V6 engine is way too much for the WNDFLV. Not enough cranking amps. At a price of $52 is this Dechanie brand. Just like the WNDFLV, the Dechanie claims 5,000 cranking amps. They claim it'll start a 9-liter gasoline engine or an 8-liter diesel. You can also use this as a power bank, and they claim 20,000 milliamp hour capacity. Made in China. And it's 1.345 pounds for the Dechanie. The Dechanie won't work with a completely drained battery. So I'll have to use another jump starter to excite the Dechanie. The Dechanie made 3 attempts, each time really struggling to turn over the engine. Now it's overheated. At a price of $70 is this YUSMAN brand. The YUSMAN claims a very impressive 8,000 cranking amps. The tire inflator is also rated for 150 PSI. It has 2 USB ports, and the jump starter can be used as a portable power bank. And the YUSMAN is made in China. And the YUSMAN weighs 1.74 pounds. The ignition has been disabled to keep the engine from starting in the first test. I had to excite the YUSMAN with an extra jumper. The YUSMAN did the best yet, but definitely not 8,000 cranking amps as advertised. At a price of $70 is this Koltgoo brand. The Koltgoo is rated for 4,500 cranking amps. The tire inflator is also rated for 150 PSI. They claim it's capable of 70 starts on a single charge. And the Koltgoo is made in China. The Koltgoo weighs 1.45 pounds. The Koltgoo needs help from an extra jumper to step into action. And the Koltgoo is barely able to turn over the V6 engine. At a price of $70 is this NACKEO brand. It's a jump starter with a tire inflator, and it's rated for 160 PSI. The jump starter is rated for 7,000 cranking amps. And the NACKEO is made in China. And it's 1.7 pounds for the NACKEO. The NACKEO has a boost button which allows it to work with a completely dead battery. And it performed the best yet with a 3-second run on the first attempt. At a price of around $81 is this YaberAuto brand. It's a jump starter and an air compressor, and they claim 160 PSI and 8,000 cranking amps. They also claim it can charge at 65 watts. They claim the battery bank can produce up to 160 watts output. They claim the light delivers 600 lumens. And the YaberAuto is made in China. The YaberAuto is by far the heaviest yet at 2.82 pounds. The YaberAuto also has a boost button that'll work with a completely dead battery. And the YaberAuto is making this look way too easy. Let's see if it'll last 10 seconds. And I ended the test at just over 11 seconds, which is by far the best yet. At a price of $90 is this TREKURE brand. They claim it delivers 7,000 cranking amps. It even includes a tire repair kit. The air compressor has a capacity of 160 PSI. And the TREKURE is made in China. And it's 2.42 pounds for the TREKURE. The TREKURE has a boost button on the jumper cables. Definitely not 7,000 cranking amps. At a price of $99 is this GooLoo brand. Unlike most of the other brands, the GooLoo does not come with an air compressor. They also claim it has a 400 lumen light. It's supposed to have a battery capacity of 24,000 milliamp hours. What's really nice about the GooLoo is it can deliver 100 watts in and 100 watts out. They claim you only have to charge this jump starter once every 2 years. And the GooLoo is made in China. And the GooLoo weighs 2.23 pounds. The GooLoo has a boost feature that'll work with a completely dead battery. And the GooLoo is turning over the engine the fastest yet. I got a little carried away and ran the starter for 13 seconds. Definitely the best yet. At a price of $100 is this Featou brand. Now the Featou claims to be by far the most powerful jump starter yet at 9,000 cranking amps. It also has a tire inflator. It has a force start function on the jump starter that allows you to jump start a vehicle with a very low voltage. You can also inflate and deflate an air mattress. And the Featou is made in China. And the Featou weighs 2.4 pounds. The Featou got a little too excited at the start of the test. Words cannot describe the smell of that smoke. The second attempt lasted just over 6 seconds when the jump starter overheated. At a price of $110 is this Wolfbox brand. Just like the GooLoo, the Wolfbox does not have a tire inflator. It's rated for 4,000 cranking amps. It has a 65 watt Type-C in and out port. Made in China. And the Wolfbox weighs 1.89 pounds. The Wolfbox also has a boost button for activating the jump starter for dealing with the dead battery. Just like the GooLoo, the Wolfbox is doing a great job and lasted over 10 seconds. It'll be interesting to see how this one performs trying to start a big block engine. At a price of $300 is this Milwaukee Hotshot jump starter. Unlike the previous brands, this one is a supercapacitor. It uses any 18-volt Milwaukee battery to charge the jump starter. Once the supercapacitor is charged, you can then jump start the vehicle. And Milwaukee took very close to 1 minute to fully charge. The Milwaukee only includes the jump starter and not the battery. They claim 2,000 cranking amps. Product of Vietnam and finished in China. The Milwaukee is by far the heaviest yet at 6.9 pounds, and with the battery, it weighs 9.25 pounds. The Milwaukee needs about a minute to charge, and the boost button has to be activated before connecting the second cable. The Milwaukee gave up really early at just over 2 seconds. At a price of around $370 is this NOCO GBX 155. I've had this unit for about 2 years, and I thought it'd be interesting to see how it's holding up against the competition. Just like the Wolfbox and the GooLoo, it's only a jump starter and not a tire inflator. It's rated for 4,250 cranking amps. And the NOCO is made in China. And the NOCO weighs 5.61 pounds. The NOCO's boost button has to be activated before connecting the second cable. And the NOCO is delivering by far the most current yet and is making this look way too easy. Very impressive. Assessing performance is highly subjective, but the NOCO came out on top with the best possible rating of 1. The GooLoo and the Wolfbox tied for second place with a very good rating of 1.5. In the next test, let's compare the performance of the tire inflators at inflating a 15-inch car tire. I have an inline tire pressure gauge to keep track of the progress. The wind flip is pretty loud at 89.2 decibels. As the internal air pump heats up, it causes the rubber hose to become very hot. Too much heat and the hose can break down over time. And 295 degrees Fahrenheit is very hot. The wind flip is finished in 9 minutes and 34 seconds and the tire pressure gauge is right on target. The YUSMAN is a little bit less noisy than the wind flip at 87.1 peak decibels. The large numbers on the display of the YUSMAN make it very easy to see the progress. And this pump creates a lot of heat at 311 degrees Fahrenheit. And the YUSMAN is finished in about the same amount of time as the wind flip at 9 minutes and 33 seconds. And the gauge is right on target. The Dechanie is about as loud as the YUSMAN at 87 peak decibels. The Dechanie is very hot at 275 degrees Fahrenheit. And the Dechanie is the fastest air pump yet at 8 minutes and 42 seconds, and the gauge is also pretty accurate. With a name like Koltgoo, expectations are pretty big. The Koltgoo is pretty loud at 92.5 decibels. However, it is the coolest pump yet at 253 degrees Fahrenheit, which is still pretty hot. And the Koltgoo is finished in 9 minutes and 44 seconds, and the gauge is right on target. The NACKEO is at 88.5 decibels, and it's the slowest air pump yet. The NACKEO is running pretty warm at 271 degrees Fahrenheit and is finally finished at 10 minutes and 43 seconds, the slowest time yet. And this is another accurate tire pressure gauge. The YaberAuto is the loudest yet at 94.8 decibels, but it is a lot faster than the competition. And the YaberAuto is the coolest pump yet at 249 degrees and is finished in only 6 minutes and 37 seconds. That's about 2 minutes faster than the Dechanie. The gauges are very close to the same pressure. The TREKURE is about the same as the YUSMAN at 87 decibels. It seems quite a bit slower than the YaberAuto, but it is running the coolest yet at 233 degrees Fahrenheit. The TREKURE is finally finished in 8 minutes and 52 seconds, and the tire pressure gauge is right on target. The Featou is pretty loud at just over 91 decibels and is not nearly as fast as the YaberAuto. However, the Featou is running the coolest yet at 226 degrees. And is finished in 9 minutes and 46 seconds, and the tire pressure gauge is pretty accurate. So the YaberAuto is the fastest tire pump at 6 minutes and 37 seconds. The Dechanie finished in second place at 8 minutes and 42 seconds, and the TREKURE third at 8 minutes and 52. Let's see how the jump starters perform at starting a Chevrolet Small Block 350. This battery is almost 10 years old and it's below 3 volts, which is a lot better than a completely dead battery. Once again, no luck with the DeWalt battery. The partially charged battery should really help these jump starters. Each jump starter will have 3 attempts to start the engine. And the Sharmeal performed well and started the engine on all 3 attempts. The wind flip almost started the truck on the first attempt. Unfortunately, the WNDFLV isn't able to start the engine on the second and third attempt before the jump starter overheated. The Dechanie really struggled with a completely dead battery, but it performed quite a bit better this time. After 3 successful attempts, the Dechanie is overheated. The YUSMAN said yes to getting this old 350 fired right up the first time, and the second and third attempts were also successful. The YUSMAN seems quite a bit better than the previous brands. The Koltgoo also made pretty easy work of getting this old 350 fired up on all 3 back-to-back attempts. The NACKEO seems quite a bit better than the Koltgoo and made very easy work of starting the engine on all 3 attempts. The YaberAuto seems just as powerful as a brand new car battery, and the truck started very easily on all 3 attempts. The TREKURE really struggled with a completely dead battery in the Ford Ranger. However, having some help from a partially charged battery really helped this time. The GooLoo seems even better than the YaberAuto for cranking amps. All 3 back-to-back attempts were successful. The Featou made 2 successful attempts but gave up after the second attempt with an error for overheating. The Wolfbox seems just as motivated to bring the 350 to life as the GooLoo. The Wolfbox was successful on all 3 attempts. The Milwaukee is a supercapacitor which packs plenty of punch for a small block V8. And the engine is up and running on all 3 attempts. The NOCO is definitely ready for a bigger challenge and made very easy work of the small block engine. So most of the jump starters were successful at starting the small block V8 on all 3 attempts. Before we attempt to jump start a diesel engine, let's see how the jump starters perform on Cousin Eddie's Farmabago that has a 454 big block V8. The Farmabago doesn't have any fuel in it, so let's see how long it'll turn over the engine. The battery is just over 7 volts, but this will definitely be a challenge for some of the jump starters. Let's get the jump starter that uses the DeWalt battery since it was unsuccessful in the last test. The 454 is just way too much for the Sharmeal. Just like with the Sharmeal, the 454 is way too much for the WNDFLV. The Dechanie did better than the Sharmeal and the WNDFLV, but still a pretty disappointing performance. The YUSMAN once again said yes, turning over the engine, and it performed the best yet. The YUSMAN lasted just over 7 seconds, which is pretty good. The Koltgoo gave up pretty quickly at just over 2 seconds. The NACKEO performed about the same as the YUSMAN with the Ford Ranger, and it performed about the same once again this time at just over 6 seconds. The YaberAuto continues to impress as it packs a pretty powerful punch. A high engine turnover speed lasting over 10 seconds is by far the best so far. Not bad for a jump starter that has a built-in air compressor. The TREKURE performed well, but not nearly as well as the YaberAuto. However, it did last around 5.5 seconds, which should easily start most engines. The GooLoo continues to outperform the previous brands and perform well in this test. Delivering over 10 seconds of cranking time at a high RPM should get the job done in most situations. The Featou isn't spinning over the engine nearly as fast as the GooLoo. However, it did perform better than average, and the Featou lasted almost 10 seconds. The Wolfbox seems to be performing just as good as the GooLoo. It's turning over the engine just as well as a fully charged car battery, which is pretty impressive. And the Wolfbox lasted just over 10 seconds. The Milwaukee started off strong but quickly faded, lasting a total of just over 3.5 seconds. The NOCO was definitely the most powerful jump starter in the lineup, cranking over the engine better than a fully charged car battery. And the NOCO easily lasted over 10 seconds. Assessing performance is highly subjective, but the NOCO came out on top once again with the best possible rating of 1. The GooLoo, Wolfbox, and YaberAuto tied for second place with a rating of 1.5. This Dodge Ram 2500 with a diesel engine requires 2 car batteries. Let's use a battery made of solid wood that Cousin Eddie made for us a couple years ago. On the other side, let's install the same battery that was used in the Farmabago. Let's get the Sharmeal, WNDFLV, and the Dechanie since they did not perform well on the last test. All the jump starters are fully charged. And the YUSMAN said no to starting the diesel engine. Nothing but a couple of clicking sounds from the Koltgoo. The NACKEO also threw in the towel quickly. And the YaberAuto performed quite a bit better than most of the brands in the previous test, and the YaberAuto successfully started the diesel engine back-to-back 3 times. That's really good for a jump starter that has a built-in air compressor. The TREKURE made 1 successful start, and it's 1 and done for the TREKURE. The GooLoo has performed well throughout the showdown, but its safety features kicked in, indicating an overcurrent condition. I tried several times with the same result. The Featou doesn't seem nearly as powerful as the GooLoo, but is still able to start the diesel engine 3 times in a row. Just like the GooLoo, the Wolfbox has a built-in safety design that's preventing the jump starter from delivering its full potential. I made 3 attempts and they all ended the same way with a fault code. Unfortunately, the Milwaukee just doesn't produce enough cranking amps to fire up the diesel engine. And the NOCO cranks over the diesel engine as if it has the power of 2 fully charged car batteries. Very impressive! This jump starter is over 2 years old and it still performs as good as new. Only 3 jump starters are able to jump start the diesel engine 3 times back to back. However, the NOCO definitely delivers the most powerful punch. Let's use this integrating spear to measure the brightness of the jump starter lights. and it's 40 lumens for the Sharmeal. The WNDFLV's only at 23 lumens, and the Dechanie is right at 30 lumens, and it's 33 lumens for the YUSMAN, and the Koltgoo is at 17 lumens, and the NACKEO is by far the brightest yet at 182 lumens. The YaberAuto's light is too large for the tester. Some basic math, about 45 lumens, and it's 71 lumens for the TREKURE, and the GooLoo is pretty bright at 152 lumens, and it's 59 lumens for the Featou. The Wolfbox is also too wide for the tester, and it's actually producing around 91 lumens. The NOCO is too large for the tester, but it works out to approximately 154 lumens for the entire light, and it's 429 lumens for the Milwaukee. If the brightness of the jump starter lights is the factor in your purchasing decision, the Milwaukee came out on top at 429 lumens. The NACKEO finished in second place at 182 and NOCO third at 154 lumens. Jump starters can be very useful as a battery bank, so let's test their performance and capacity. If you're wanting to use the Sharmeal as a phone charger, this thing is really struggling at only around 2 watts of output. After 5 hours and 38 minutes, the Sharmeal is completely drained at only 10.23 watt-hours, which is pretty bad. The WNDFLV is performing quite a bit better at around 12.5 watts. Just over 2 hours later, the WNDFLV is drained at 19.79 watt-hours. The Dechanie is rated for 10 watts, and that's right at what it's producing. Just over 2 hours later, and the Dechanie only produced 16.78 watt-hours. The YUSMAN performed the best yet at 17 watts, and the YUSMAN moves into the lead at 27.75 watt-hours. The Koltgoo only made it to around 10 watts before shutting down. The Koltgoo performed about the same as the YUSMAN at 27 watt-hours. The NACKEO has a max output of around 9.9 watts. The NACKEO trails the YUSMAN and the Koltgoo by just a little at 26.49 watt-hours. The YaberAuto has a 12-volt DC output socket, and it made it to 167.54 watt-hours, the most yet. The YaberAuto moves into the lead at 59.85 watt-hours. The TREKURE is holding steady at around 11.61 watts of output. It has a total battery capacity of 47.89 watt-hours to move into second place behind the YaberAuto. The GooLoo performed quite a bit better than advertised at 123.5 watts, and the GooLoo moves into the lead at 80.43 watt-hours. Very impressive! The Featou made it to 16.26 watts before collapsing, and the Featou has a total capacity of 48.99 watt-hours. The Wolfbox hit a peak of only 12.12 watts. The Wolfbox has a total capacity of 66.22 watt-hours. The NOCO performed well at 65.2 peak watts, and the NOCO made it to 79.1 watt-hours. If you're looking for a jump starter to also serve as a battery bank, the GooLoo has the most capacity at 80.43 watt-hours. The NOCO finished in a close second place at 79.1 and Wolfbox third at 66.22. If you're looking for a jump starter that can quickly charge your electronics, the YaberAuto produces 167.5 peak watts. The GooLoo finished in second place at 123.5 and NOCO third at 65.2. And the final test, let's bench test the jump starters to know for sure which jump starter delivers the most cranking amps. The analog meters in this carbon pile tester are difficult to see, so let's use a couple of digital testers that'll give us the volts and amps. The Sharmeal made it to 355 amps at 6 volts. Amps times volts equals watts, and the Sharmeal only made it to 2,130 watts. The WNDFLV really struggled in this test at 178 amps at 7.31 volts or 1,301 watts. The Dechanie moves into the lead at 369 amps at 6.22 volts, which works out to 2,295 watts. The YUSMAN moves into the lead at 508 amps at 6.91 volts for a total of 3,510 watts. The Koltgoo just moved into second place at 459 amps at 6.47 volts for a total of 2,970 watts. Unfortunately, the Koltgoo jumper cable melted during the test. The NACKEO moves into the lead at 538 amps at 7.23 volts for a total of 3,890 watts. The YaberAuto continues to impress at 671 amps at 6.91 volts for a total of 4,637 watts to move into the lead. The TREKURE trails the YaberAuto at 647 amps at 7.04 volts for a total of 4,555 watts. And the GooLoo just moved into the lead at 621 amps at 8.13 volts for a total of 5,049 watts. Unfortunately, the Featou is fried and is no longer working properly. And the Wolfbox just took the lead from the GooLoo at 612 amps at 9.28 volts for a total of 5,679 watts. The Milwaukee ran out of steam early at 503 amps at 7.13 volts for a total of 3,601 watts. And the NOCO ran circles around the competition at 1,044 amps at 10.36 volts. Very impressive! So the NOCO came out on top at 10,816 watts. Wolfbox finished in second place at 5,679 watts and GooLoo third at 5,049. So which jump starter is the best? The left side of the scorecard includes some basic information about each jump starter that was not included in calculating the winner of this review. On the right side of the chart, I've converted the raw performance data into a first to last place ranking for each jump starter. The NOCO came out on top with the best average finish of 1.6. It performed well in every category, but it is very expensive at a price of around $360. However, if you do need a jump starter for a diesel engine, this would definitely be my choice and is worth the money. The only downside is it doesn't have a built-in tire inflator like some of the other brands. The GooLoo finished in second place with an average finish of 2.5. If you're not needing a jump starter for a diesel engine and you don't need a built-in tire inflator, this would be my top pick. It's a very high quality jump starter, and for a price of around $100, it seems like a great value. If you are looking for a jump starter with a built-in tire inflator, the YaberAuto is definitely the best pick and ran circles around the competition. It has by far the fastest tire inflator, and it also performed very well in all testing. It's going to be very hard to beat at a price of around $81. Compared to the jump starters I tested 5 years ago, they have greatly improved. Also, I never leave home without a jump starter, just in case someone needs a jump or I do. It's always nice to have one. All the reviews in this channel are viewer suggested, so if you have a video idea, I hope you'll take time to leave a comment. Thanks so much for watching, please take care, and look forward to next time.